Welcome to the Fantasy Results Show on DailyDraftAnalysis.com. We're talking with Jay Blaze 39. We're heading into Week 3 of the NFL schedule. Jay, what are your first thoughts, just overlooking the entire spectrum of Week 3?
Well, we're beginning to see trends of what teams are going to be like this coming year. Who's the good and the bad are kind of separating themselves, and it's starting to develop for the year of who's going to do good and who's not, and who's going to be playing for high draft picks next year. And then we also got our first week of London football across the pond. So, actually, one of my favorite teams is playing there, the Baltimore Ravens, and it's it should be an interesting week with traditionally those matchups are usually very close. They're kind of sloppy. So we'll see how the week shapes up here. There's a lot of injuries to get to. A lot of news happening out here, and so we got to catch up on it.
All right. Well, let's start right off with our Thursday night game this week. We got the Rams at the 49ers. What do you have to say on that one, Jay?
Well, it's kind of the NFL seems to pick the crappiest games on Thursday night. So, and this week is no different. You got two non-playoff teams that are gonna be duking it out, and it's also a division game, so that they know each other. So it could get interesting. There's the Rams, their defenses. I mean, the two defenses are actually pretty decent in this game. So the Rams have a better offense than 49ers at this point. At least that's what the stats are showing. Jared Goff is actually showing that he can be a semi-competent quarterback. It helps you having a couple weapons there. Cooper Kupp, who's a rookie receiver, has come on strong this year. And he's been, Goff's favorite target thus far. So they seem to have a lot of rapport. And then they got Sammy Watkins that just came over from Buffalo and doing a decent job. He's basically doing the same thing he did at Buffalo. So got some weapons there. So their running game is Todd Gurley is nothing. He's nothing special, but he gets a lot of volume, and that's what we're looking for, especially in cash games. He's looking for a lot of opportunity. So he could be an option this week. They are committed to running the ball. So the 49ers are giving up 22 points a game, to opposing running backs. Could be a lot of running in this game. And on the flip side, you got Carlos Hyde going against that Rams defense, who's actually given up even more yards or more fantasy points to opposing running backs. They're giving up 30 points. Of course, they've faced a couple high-powered running back. So some of these stats can get a little skewed. But it's if you're looking, personally, I tend to want to fade a game like this. Just be on the, if you're even if you're playing the Thursday through Monday slate, a strategy you could do is fading this game and actually the Baltimore game, the London game, and just play the Sunday Monday contests or or games and probably come out ahead of the field because there's going to be a good portion of the field that's in these tournaments that are going to try to be sneaky and try to guess who to play in these games where we don't really know what's going to happen. And Vegas thinks it's a low scoring game, so it's hard to argue with Vegas. So,
in other words, don't put a lot of eggs into this basket. Kind of no matter which way you slice it.
Yeah, if you want to do anything, you could play one of these defenses. I tend to go with the home defense, which in this case I think is
Niners.
The Niners, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, you could go with Carlos Hyde and the 49ers defense. I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna stress this every week. But when you're putting together lineups, think of it as a jigsaw puzzle. Every piece needs to fit. It needs to correlate together to make it fit, to make it work, to maximize your potential points. And when you're playing big tournaments, that's what you need to do. If you're just playing the safe, cash games, 50-50s and double ups, you can go more with safety, and you don't have to rely on taking chances. So, but they also need to correlate together too. There isn't as much stacking in cash games as there is just playing the best players. So, just keep that in mind, guys. So,
alrighty. Well, let's jump on to our Thursday night game. The Sunday morning game. We covered Thursday night. We got to move on to Thursday morning. That's right, morning football. What could be better? Ravens and the Jaguars playing in London.
Yeah, on the surface, this looks like a 15-9 game, with a lot of field goals. Both defenses are off to a good start this year. Baltimore's only giving up like 15, or no, they're not even giving up 10 points to opposing quarterbacks. Of course, they did play Cleveland, who's starting a rookie quarterback last week. And the week before they with Cincinnati. Well, Andy Dalton's a good quarterback, but he's streaky. So who knows which they're Baltimore's an opportunistic defense, and the formula here is going to be, well, keep the ball out of um, the quarterback's hands, and they're going to be running the ball a lot. It's it's not going to be pretty. What I would do in this is the guys I'm looking at this for this game. I mean, there's not a whole lot, but it basically comes down to which Flacco, Joe Flacco are you gonna get? I mean, is he coming on like he did? He had 2 touchdowns last week. Is that a sign of progress? Because I don't foresee that happening, because the Jaguars' pass defense is really good, but their run defense is suspect. So I expect a lot of running with Buck Allen, and Terrence West kind of sharing the workload there, but Buck Allen is getting the majority of the touches. There's not going to be a whole lot of big play offenses in this game. So this is another one of those games you could do a running back defense. And personally I'm taking the Ravens over Jags. Because I like Baltimore's defense better, and I don't think a whole lot of people will be on these defenses. At least a combination of the running back and defense. So if you want to do Leonard Fournette, and that's about all I'm going to play for. I don't like any of the receivers for the Jags. They lost. The only person I might have an interest in as a punt is Alan Hearns. And on the flip side, Mike Wallace. For the over the top, home run type of play. But that's a deep GPP type of flyer. So only if you're making multiple lineups there. So let's move on.
Alrighty. Well, we got the Browns at the Colts. Colts disappointing loss last week. How do you think they're going to respond? Second home game now.
Yeah. Talk about the toilet bowl. Boy, we're starting off the week with some barn burners here. Indianapolis, their run defense has actually done better than a lot of people expected. They held Gurley to like 2 yards a carry. And last week they held, well, it was the Cardinals to of course, without David Johnson, they held them in check. So I mean, it wasn't much of a threat there. So, I don't expect a whole lot in this game. I don't. I'm gonna pick and choose. Okay, on a big slate, you wanna pick like 2 or 3 games and load up on them, and then do your hedging of the opposite, of those games, to protect yourself. So this is the type of game you take a piece. Maybe you could take the running back from Cleveland, whose names are just escaping me right now. Duke Johnson might be in play here from a pass catching, but Crowell is the main back. Kaiser, the quarterback for Cleveland, he's shown he can play. So he could be sneaky as a you could run him out there naked, basically. Meaning you run him out without his receiver, and he's the only one you play. Or you could do Kaiser and Crowell, or Kaiser and Duke Johnson, because they just lost their number one receiver, Corey Coleman. He'll be out for a while. And it's, I guess, if you want to really get deep, you could go with Kenny Britt. But on the flip side, you could do Jacoby Brissett and Jack Doyle. That's about the only ones I'm going to be looking at. Maybe Melvin Mack from just a purely volume play, and pass catching. Otherwise, I'm not touching a whole lot in this game.
Gotcha. All right. Well, that brings us up to the Giants at the Philadelphia Eagles. Another division game here. What's your thought on that?
Well, it's a division game. The Giants' offensive line is horrible. And the only guy I'm looking at for the Giants offense is possibly the tight end, Evan Ingram. Otherwise, Odell Beckham, if he plays, maybe. Philadelphia's defense is for real. And especially their front line, they're not going to be able to run on the Eagles. So I don't expect a whole lot of offense from the Eagles, or from the Giants. I see this as a blowout game. Actually, Philly's gonna blow them out here. Zach Ertz is in play. The tight ends do really well against the Giants. Now it's gonna come down to if the Eagles have a lot of weapons on offense. With their Alshon Jeffrey and he's the number one guy, and then Zach Ertz, the tight end. So, those are the two guys to look for, and with Wentz. Wentz is a star in the making. He's probably one of my favorite plays this week, from a tournament standpoint. So, you could pair him with, the running game I guess you could go the Garrett Blunt, because if the Eagles are up big, they're going to be running the clock out. So Garrett Blunt could get some cheap garbage time. So I could see that happening. So, but beyond that, I want a piece of the Eagles defense this week, and I'm going to pair him with probably Blunt. So.
All right. Well, let's take it down then to Dolphins at the New York Jets. What do you see for this game here?
Let's see here. Dolphins and Jets. Well, I see the Jets gonna get blown out. This game is the Jets are even though they're at home, they're playing for the number one overall pick. So they've been in the games, but the last few games between these two teams, there's been some higher scoring games, especially on Miami side. They've been averaging over 30 points a game against the Jets. The Jets traditionally have been pretty good against the run, so I'm a little concerned about Jay Ajayi, even though the matchup, seems to favor. He'll get the volume, but now with Jay Cutler there, he does like to take it to the air and get vertical. And of course the deep threat there is Devontae Parker, Jarvis Landry is going to be someone that's a good option, for out of the slot. So he could be a cash guy. Kenny Stills gets some opportunity on a few deep balls. And Jay Cutler will chuck it up, the deep ball 3 or 4 times a game. So you get 1 or 2 of those to connect, you're looking at cashing a good check. So, on the Jet side, the only person I could see doing anything is maybe Bly Powell, from playing catch up, because their chances are they're going to be behind, and they're going to be, and Powell's the one that gets the ball when they're playing catch up. When they're ahead or even, Matt Forte seems to get a lot of the carries. So, of the two, I like Powell the best. You could take a chance on Robbie Anderson. And Jermaine Kearse is the number one receiver there now. And, I played him last week and with virtually zero ownership. And, he had, he had like 18 points. And I tell you, he's going to get volume. He's going to get opportunity. So, there could be some garbage time scoring for Kearse or Anderson. So that could be a nice a one-off play as a punt. So that's I don't really like either defense in this game. So but yeah, let's move on here.
Okey-doke. So we're going to take a short break from the Fantasy Results Show. Jay Blaze 39 for Daily Draft Analysis. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Fantasy Results Show for DailyDraftAnalysis.com. We're talking with Jay Blaze 38.
39.
Yeah, we're going to keep our podcast listeners guessing.
Well, it's 38 on FanDuel and it's Jay Blaze 39 on DraftKings. So. Yeah.
Well, the reason I said 38 is we were just talking about the break. This next matchup don't see very often here. The Broncos and the Bills. Mm-hmm. You were mentioning the last time these two teams met in Buffalo, number 8, Tim Tebow was playing as quarterback. So lots has changed since then, and then I guess the last time this team met at all was 2014. So kind of hard to predict from past stats. But what are your thoughts on that game?
Well, I mean, there's going to be a lot of defense in this game. I think Denver's going to be doing a lot of Denver's gonna blow them out. Okay, I could see a 35-17 game. It's either that or it's gonna be, a 12-9 game.
One extreme or the other.
Yep, it's depends on which defense shows up for Buffalo. Now, Denver's going to have to throw the ball because the Buffalo doesn't give up a whole lot of fantasy points to at least for the first couple weeks to opposing running backs. So temper your expectations with C.J. Anderson and Jamal Charles. But the advantage that they have is they can catch the ball also. So, and Buffalo is susceptible to that. Screen passes and such. But really, there's two receivers. The two big ones. The Sanders and Demaryius Thomas. For Denver is in totally in play here. Simeon is it's a decent. He's going to be an under the radar GPP type of quarterback. I mean, it's hard saying that he just threw up 4 touchdowns last week, but if it does turn into a bit of a shootout, I like my chances with Simeon and the Denver receivers. You could go with Jordan Matthews and Charles Clay. Charles Clay he may get you 4 catches, 60 yards, maybe a touchdown. He needs that touchdown to make value. There'll be nobody on him. Tyrod Taylor could be sneaky play also because of the rushing attack. Shady McCoy is banged up, and Denver can be run on, but when you're one dimensional like Buffalo is, they can plan for that and shut that down. So, I mean, it's going to have to be bigger plays or broken tackles for this to pay off. And I don't like playing McCoy this week. He's going to get the volume. He always does. But I don't think. Denver only gives up 15 fantasy points to opposing running backs anyway. At least on DraftKings scoring. So. Yeah, you could take a chance on either defense. Probably Denver. You could go with Buffalo just because of they're at home. And maybe Simeon, is gonna come back to earth in this game. I don't know, because he's had a pretty good start to the year. So, is that real or is that a mirage? So we don't know. But I don't see either side running the ball a whole lot for any type of amounts anyway. So let's move on.
Alrighty. Next game up. Saints at the Panthers. What does New Orleans say when they get into Carolina?
Well, traditionally, they've been low-scoring games. The rivals. Of course, New Orleans is showing that their defense is horrible. This is another one that could, I see a lot of running by Carolina. McCaffrey, I see a big game from McCaffrey. Cam Newton, we don't know if he's going to get it right this week. I'm a little hesitant. I don't know if he's still shaking the cobwebs off because of that surgery he had. But then again, this could be the game where he gets healthy. And just has his breakout game for the year. So, and Drew Brees is his road splits are pretty evident. He's a different quarterback away from the Superdome. So, when they met this game in Charlotte, or is this game in?
This game is at the Panthers.
Yeah, at Charlotte. Okay. There have always been close games. And I mean they know each other really well. So now with Greg Olsen being out for Carolina, that's going to hurt the passing game greatly. But if you're looking for a cheap, under the radar punt at tight end, Ed Dickson, who used to play for the Ravens, he can be very sneaky. He's a better blocker than he is a pass catcher, but in this situation, he's going to be thrust into action. It might be worth a look anyway in a big, a large field GPP, kind of a dart throw. So, otherwise, you're looking at Kelvin Benjamin. If Cam has a big game, if this is his coming out party, for the year, you're going to be. You need Newton and Benjamin pair to connect. McCaffrey's going to get a lot of probably dump off passes. And I do like McCaffrey a lot this week. I think he's going to be fairly high owned. But he could be cash safe this week. On New Orleans side, the only guy I'm really looking at in this game is Kamara, the running back from New Orleans. Maybe Ingram. The receivers for the one guy that there's a narrative in this game that could work, and that is Ted Ginn going against his former team. He could try to get deep a couple times. And Carolina is susceptible to the big play passing game. So that could happen. The only problem is, so far this year, Ginn really hasn't been able to take the top off the defense as of yet. And he hasn't been burning anybody, like he has in the past. So, it's only in a large field GPP that this will play. Otherwise, Drew Brees. I mean, I guess you could, you can always take a chance on him, and because he is a future Hall of Famer. I mean, you could, but he'll be low owned, that's for sure. And if you do that, it could pan out because the potential, the ceiling is there. They have shootouts every so often. 3 of the last 5 contests, have been, like in the 40s, high 30s to 40 points each team. So it's very possible that this could turn into a shootout. There won't be a whole lot of people on this game as far as a game stack. Now, there's probably going to be a lot of people on Cam Newton just because it's Cam Newton and because they're facing the Saints, who have been terrible against opposing quarterbacks this year. And but this could, if you wanted to take both sides of this and game stack it to separate yourself, it could work. This could be one of those 3 games that I was talking about that you could load up on. And then, get some separation with some of your one-off plays. So, you could do a Breeze and Ginn, and then McCaffrey and Benjamin. Or Ed Dixon. In a situation like that, I think I'm only going to use Ed Dixon as a cheap fill if I'm not on this game. I'm not. I guess you could be a part of a Carolina stack, but if you're stacking the Saints and then filling in the Panthers, he's not part of that. But if it's if you're loading up on Panthers, yeah, he could be part of that stack. So
depends on which side they're going to go on.
Correct.
Alrighty. Well, we go to the Steelers at the Bears in Chicago. What are your thoughts on that matchup?
Well, both teams, they're really not that great. Chicago is a different, and they've lost everybody. Pittsburgh's, road splits. Roethlisberger isn't very good away from Heinz Field. But this could be a case where it's Pittsburgh gets up early and then they just hand the ball off to Le'Veon Bell. There's only one player I'm going to pick on Chicago, and that's Tariq Cohen. Just for the playing in catch-up mode. Maybe Deontay Thompson. A deep. If you want to get really sneaky, I don't foresee this happening, but you could. This could work. Is take a flyer on Mike Glennon and Deontay Thompson. Actually, what I would do. Here's what I would do: is I would, if I'm gonna game stack this game, I would do Roethlisberger, Bell, Antonio Brown, and then Cohen and Deontay Thompson for the Bears. That's a possibility. That could work. In fact, the more I think of it, that could work very well, actually.
I think we know what Jay Blaze is going to be taking picks for this week then.
Well, I mean, these teams don't play that often, but I tell you what, the last time they played, they combined for 63 points.
Oh my.
So, but most of the time when they play a couple other times, they've had games in the 30s. So, but you got to go back a long ways, for that. So
you're talking like maybe from the Jim McMahon days, huh?
well, little after that, but it's not too far.
Not that far, all right.
More like the Jim Harbaugh days.
There you
actually. Go. So yeah, it's
kind of unpredictable. It sounds like.
Well, a lot of the people are going to be picking Pittsburgh defense and Le'Veon Bell with good reason, and that's fine. Just be forewarned if you want to be super contrarian. I mean, that game stack I was referring to might put you over the top. So that's something to consider. So,
well, the beautiful thing about tuning in to the Fantasy Results Show is you're going to get some contrarian advice that, well, in your case, it's paid off big.
Yeah, it sure has. It doesn't always work, but when it does, it pays well.
It's a big one. So our last game to talk about before we take a break again here is the Atlanta going to Detroit, Falcons and the Lions.
The battle of the undefeateds.
That'll be a good one.
Yeah, and Atlanta. They look pretty. They looked pretty good on Sunday night against Green Bay. But then again, Green Bay was pretty beat up. So, this is going to be a game. There's going to be a lot of offense in this game. This is a shootout in the making here. There's another game later on. It's going to be high owned and a lot of point totals. We'll get to, but
spoiler alert.
Yeah, this game. The last time these two teams played, they played in London, and that was 3 years ago. So, they don't play that often. So, the last time they played in Detroit was 5 years ago. So, and Atlanta, won 31-18 on that game. So, in this game, the Detroit defense is going to get tested in this game. I see a 38-35 game.
That's close, huh?
Yeah. I think Atlanta's going to get up big, and then Detroit's going to, make a run at from behind. Because what happens in a lot of Falcons games, well, we all saw it in the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
They get up big, and then they kind of take the foot off the gas, and pretty soon they don't know how to find the gas pedal anymore. So they let teams back in. So, and that's been Detroit's specialty under Matt Stafford. So, everybody's in play in this game. Julio Jones, another guy, Sanu could be in play. Sanu, I guess. But the guy I like is Austin Hooper. I think he's gonna have a big game in the red zone. Another guy that could be a difference maker is Taylor Gabriel. He's kind of their gadget guy, doing the reverses and whatnot. So, on Detroit side, actually on Atlanta, Freeman is firmly in play. And actually, for that matter, Coleman is too. There could be enough to go around for everybody. But on Detroit, Stafford and Golden Tate, and Abdullah, maybe Riddick. I like Riddick in this game more than Abdullah because I think they'll be coming from behind, and Detroit seems to use Riddick more in the come from behind mode. I don't see a whole lot here with Ebron. He had a moment, with on Sunday night, but he's too inconsistent. I don't trust him. So you could do Marvin Jones Jr. And the rookie Galladay. And I don't think anybody will be on him because of after that dud he put up last week. So, and I don't think that was a whole lot of his fault. I mean, Detroit got up big on the Giants, and they didn't really need him. They didn't really need to throw the ball a lot. So, but this game they're gonna have to throw to keep up. So.
Lots to watch.
There is, and actually in the series between these two teams, it's interesting. But Detroit actually leads the series 24-12. Yeah, I mean there was a time these two franchises were bottom of the barrel. It wasn't that long ago.
Mm-hmm.
So. This used to be a toilet bowl game. Now it's got the defending NFC champion against the playoff team Detroit Lions last year. So, this could be a good game.
Good game to watch.
Yep.
All right. Well, stay tuned with us. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back with you for the Fantasy Results Show on DailyDraftAnalysis.com. Welcome back to the second half of Fantasy Results Show on DailyDraftAnalysis.com. We're talking with Jay Blaze 39, and we've got a few more games to go through here on our Sunday night lineup, Week 3 of the NFL schedule. Buccaneers at the Vikings. Super Bowl hosts this year.
Yeah. This is this is going to be an interesting matchup because Tampa Bay is. I mean, of course, they've only played one game, but they're a threat in the NFC. It's going to be a big test for the Vikings to see where they're at. Tampa's defense is legit. They'll come at you from all angles. So I see a low scoring, kind of the first team to 21 wins. Personally, I see this as a 21-17 game, but I think Tampa wins. Hate saying that because I'm a Viking fan, but that's what I see happening. It's gonna have a lot to do with if Sam Bradford can play or not. As recording this, the jury's still out. I'm seeing reports that he's looking better, he's feeling better, but we thought he was going to play last week, and he ended up sitting out. So who knows? I don't know if this is a pain tolerance issue, what if this is a more severe, or what this is, but if Bradford plays, you could go with Diggs and Rudolph and Thielen. I wouldn't go crazy on the stacks on this one. You could take bits and pieces from this game. Either one of these defenses could be very much in play for cash in tournaments. So Mike Evans is going to be a cash guy. He's going to get his volume. He's going to get his touches. So him and Cameron Brate will have opportunity. Jaquiz Rodgers, I don't see him doing a whole lot against the Vikings defense. The Vikings defense, I mean, they're ranked, 8th in DraftKings scoring points allowed to opposing running backs. So that's something to consider. On Minnesota, Dalvin Cook looks really good. In fact, I heard this morning that Pro Football Focus has through 2 weeks they have Dalvin Cook as a top 5 running back based on their rankings, however they come up with. I'm not sure if I'd go there yet, but they're just going by sheer numbers. So that's what the numbers show. So that's what fantasy's about. So with stats. So it could be Dalvin Cook and Minnesota defense. Type of game. Because Jameis Winston is, as good as he is, he does have if you punch him in the mouth, early in the game, he's going to start doubting himself and thinking, well, maybe this ain't my day. And kind of start pouting. So you could throw him off his game. And if you do, you can rattle him. So, the same could be said on the other side if Bradford doesn't start. If it's Case Keenum, load up on your Tampa Bay defense, because it's going to get ugly. That offensive line, they're in for a long afternoon. So, I just, other than Mike Evans and Cameron Brate, I don't see a whole lot more from Tampa offense. Every one of these games you could potentially see a shootout happening, but not with these two teams. If it, for some reason it does, what I would do is have Winston and Evans, and then Dalvin Cook and probably Thielen from an ownership perspective. So, and that's the way I would approach that. But beyond that, let's keep going here.
All right. So it brings us up to the Texans and the Patriots.
Bill O'Brien's coming back to New England. All right. This is going to be an ugly game. This is going to be a Mike Gillislee game. New England's going to get up big to start the game. And then they're just going to pound the ball with Gillislee. He's clearly taken over the Garrett Blount's role on this team. The usual suspects for New England. Brady and Gronkowski. Beyond that, it's anybody's guess who's going to get the targets. Here's another case where you could use Brady and Gillislee and the New England defense, because there's a scenario where Brady could get hot right from the beginning and throw 3 touchdowns like he did last week. And then they just coasted the second half with Gillislee and New England defense. So, on Houston's side, their defense is legit, but they could be passed upon. So, in New England, all the ducks are lining up to this is New England in a rout. If you really wanted to hedge, I guess you could go with Houston defense and Lamar Miller, and hoping that this game turns into just a low scoring game. I guess DeAndre Hopkins, based on numbers, based on volume, he could get a handful, but New England knows this, and they're going to shut him down. So they're going to have to go to somebody else. All their tight ends are injured. They don't really have anybody else. So, this. Yeah, let's move on. It's
Not much to say on that one.
no. It's all New England.
Yeah. So how about the Seahawks at the Titans?
That's a tough matchup because
They don't meet each other very often.
well, no, and Seattle's a different team away from home. Now they're just coming off. Their offense is still not right. Because they just played the 49ers and they only scored 12 points. In fact, I don't even think Russell Wilson has thrown a touchdown yet this year in 2 games. So that their offensive line is in trouble. Meaning Seattle's. Tennessee matches up well with Seattle. I want to say a couple years ago, Tennessee went into Seattle and beat them during the year that Seattle went to the Super Bowl. I'd have to look that up. But now there was somebody that went in there and really put it to them. So no, I guess they didn't put it to them. They lost. Okay, yeah, it was wow. Okay, that was 7 years ago. Never mind. The last time they played was 4 years ago. And Seattle won 20-13. But every one of these games, going back all the way to the mid-90s, when they were, Houston Oilers, they're one-score games or 3 points, 4 points contests, and they play each other tough. The only I'm staying away from DeMarco Murray. He's got a hamstring issue. And Henry is he's kind of three. He's not the best back either. And but if Murray's out, he's going to get the workload anyway. And Green Bay ran up on him on Seattle, so maybe Tennessee could, and Tennessee's known for running the ball, so I see this as another 20-17 game. So where are those points coming from? Well, there's going to be virtually nobody on Marcus Mariota. He could be a sneaky play this week. And if you do, you're going to pair him up with Delaney Walker. And just hope for the best. I mean, Eric Decker, I guess. And I guess, Corey, was a receiver for they have a receiver, Corey Davis. That's come on. He could be a sneaky play. So, yeah, and the dog, what makes his welcome. Let's see. But yeah, it's gonna be an ugly game. So the only players here are Rashad Matthews, and Mariota, and possibly you could go Russell Wilson and Baldwin. I'm not doing it, but it could work. So you could take a flyer because Russell Wilson's going to come out of this funk sooner or later, and this could be the game. You never know. So,
right.
Yep.
Well, that brings us up to our last game before a break here. The Bengals are going to Green Bay.
Pass.
I've never heard you say that before.
Well, okay. For one, Green Bay is all dinged up. Cincinnati has been off to a horrible start. I see this as Ty Montgomery.
And Ty Montgomery. All right.
Maybe Devontae Adams. I guess, AJ Green. And he's always in play. But I think Green Bay's defense is in play here. Kind of hard saying that after giving up 30-some points last week there at Atlanta, but it's in Green Bay, and it normally they bounce back. So as a Viking fan, I chagrin with that, but it's sounds like Tyler Eifert is dinged up. Keep an eye on that. As of right now, he's on the injury report, but he's who knows if he's gonna play. I think if he does play, he could have a decent game. So
time will tell.
Time will tell. Yeah, and that's all I got for that.
All right. Well, we're going to take one more break, and then we'll head into the final stretch here. Thanks for tuning in to the Fantasy Results Show on DailyDraftAnalysis.com. We want to thank all of our listeners for the Fantasy Results Show on Week 3 of the NFL season. DailyDraftAnalysis.com. We are with Jay Blaze, 39. Last 3 games. Tell us about the Chiefs at the Chargers.
At the Chargers in LA. Well, it's a division game. These two teams know each other very well. The Chiefs have been a bit of a surprise so far this year. And this game is gonna, it's well, it's Travis Kelce, it's Tyreek Hill and Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt has been just doing Mr. Everything for Kansas City. And it should be another good matchup here for for the Chiefs running game, because actually the Chargers have been pretty good against the run, for scoring purposes. So I was thinking that they traditionally haven't been the greatest. But I tell you what, the last two games that they played each other, it's been 33-27 and 37-27. Kansas City has won both those games, but there's been stats galore on both sides. So, and I could see that happening again. In play for I always want to say San Diego, not or LA. That just doesn't sound right.
Mm-hmm.
The Superchargers, anyway. The guys, the normal guys in play here. Melvin Gordon, Philip Rivers, Keenan Allen, Tyrell Williams, maybe some Hunter Henry. But those are the usual suspects. This could be another under the radar fantasy type of goodness type of game. There won't be anybody on this game, I don't think. The way I would approach this is stack Philip Rivers, Keenan Allen, Melvin Gordon, and then Kareem Hunt and Tyreek Hill on the other side, and then just build from there. You could build that pretty easily. Still find some nice pieces to fill in for there. That's where your cheap tight end comes into play, that I referred to earlier, and you could go that route. I don't like either defense, just because of the matchup. They how well they know each other, and just the history of it says that it's going to be a higher scoring game. So,
the sleeper effect.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
But yeah, so like I said, the usual suspects, and I laid out.
All right.
But that's the way I'd approach this one.
Okay. So we've got our Sunday night game, Raiders at Washington, Raiders and Redskins.
A rematch of Super
Exactly.
Bowl 18.
There you have it. Is that Jim Plunkett?
Yes, it is. Yep.
Okay.
That was, against, I want to say that was Joe Theismann.
Probably.
Um,
This is what you get when you get a couple of old guys talking about football from the 80s.
yeah. And that was one of my first Super Bowls I watched, and I was actually cheering on the Raiders in that game. They were massive underdogs. Marcus Allen has his memorable Super Bowl run in that game. So,
But meanwhile, back in 2017,
yeah, back at the ranch. These two teams, well, they don't play each other that well, that often at all. Obviously, it's cross conference, AFC, NFC.
across the country.
Not to mention across the country, yes. And there's something to be said. Actually, in the history, they've only faced each other 13 times. Yeah, in fact, it was 84. It shows it right here. It was 38-9. But they a lot of people are going to be on this game. This is going to be one of them chalky type of games. And there's going to be a lot of people running to pile on, chasing stats from Michael Crabtree, because he had 3 touchdowns last week. I feel like that's a trap. I think Cooper is going to be a better play this week because they seem to alternate. Also, this could be a Marshawn Lynch type of game. Because Washington gives up quite a few rushing fantasy points to opposing running backs. So I don't really like Derek Carr this week, unless this game turns into a shootout. I think this whole game is a trap. But we're gonna have to have some exposure in order to keep pace with with people. So one thing, there's a couple injuries on Washington's side that doesn't sound like Jordan Reed he's gonna play. That guy is always injured, it seems. But Rob Kelly is out. So they're going to be, leaning on Kirk Cousins even more. And I was doing some research, and the games that Reed are out, Jamison Crowder seems to really really go off in those games. So you could do Cousins and Crowder, and Pryor to a certain extent. Pryor's going to get most of the name recognition, but Crowder's going to be the better play. But this Sammy Perrine is going to be a sneaky play here. And actually, see, this is shaping up to the type of week where, back to when I won that my big prize, because the week that happened on it was a backup running back filling in for the starting running back. And it was in the late night Hammer game. And so I could see Sam Perrine filling in and doing a great job. And then pair him up with Crowder. And then Oakland, you could have Cooper, and maybe from a to be different aspect here. You could go Jalen Richard. He's the backup for Lynch, but being a backup for Lynch, you're going to get plenty of opportunity too, and he's kind of the big play guy. So you could also throw in Vernon Davis if Reed is out for sure. That guy could be a sneaky play. Yeah, that pretty much covers it.
A lot of opportunities for some surprises.
Yeah.
All right. Well, week 3, we're going to wrap it up on Monday night. The Cowboys and the Cardinals.
Oof. Well, for one thing, the FanDuel has really jacked the prices up on the primetime games for this game especially. So just be careful of that, guys. It's the Cowboys should win handily. The Cardinals can't stop the run, and they're not the same team without David Johnson. Kerwin Williams is not the answer. It's going to be another game where, you're going to have Zeke Elliott getting a lot of touches, a lot of volume. It's Dez Bryant doesn't do much against marquee defenders, especially in primetime lately. And he'll be facing up against Patrick Peterson. The only other guy other than Zeke that I like in this game is maybe Jason Witten. But yeah, not even him actually, because the Cardinals are like number one against the tight end. So yeah, it's either Zeke, or maybe Prescott, I guess. If you want to take a deep flyer, if you do, pair him up with Terrence Williams if he plays, or Cole Beasley. Cardinals side, J.J. Nelson could be in play, and Larry Fitzgerald's always in play. So, problem is Carson Palmer looks old. He doesn't. I don't know. He could break out of his funk, but playing on Monday night, yeah, he could come out good. So
never want to rule him out. It sounds like
right, but it's very risky. So
gotcha. All right,
that'll do it.
Well, that covers all of our games for Week 3. You made a note about some FanDuel pricing changes for your listeners to make note of. Any other just across the board kind of summaries you want to make for the week for making their picks?
Yeah, I mean, when you're making picks, just don't worry so much about the ownership overall, because you can have some chalk plays. You only need one or two guys to separate yourself. Like when I won my GPP, the big one, I had some of the chalk, but then I had a guy that is barely in the league anymore, but he had the opportunity, and that was Jeremy Langford. He was filling in for Matt Forte and for the Bears, and he for that night anyway, he did me good. So I mean that just keep that in mind. You just need that one or two guys, and I'm gonna try to help you find them. I've gave a couple of nuggets with Perrine and Crowder, Deontay Thompson. Just Jermaine Kearse. Just keep these guys in mind, guys. Taylor Gabriel, another one. So just keep that in mind when you're putting your lineups together. So.
Well, that's what this podcast is all about. Every week we're going to go through and give some of Jay's thoughts and insights. I don't know anyone who does more research and retains stats and information about each player and each team and some of the really finer nuances down to what stadium and what's the weather conditions that's going to be playing. So we're really thrilled to have you joining us here tonight, and best of luck in all your lineups. We'll catch you next week for the Fantasy Results Show on DailyDraftAnalysis.com.
All right, thanks guys.